Her name was Maya, and she moved into my life like a whisper of sweet perfume that slowly turns cloying, then toxic. At first, it was perfect. We were the ideal roommates, sharing late-night talks over cheap wine and navigating the chaos of our mid-20s in the city. She was charming, effervescent, the kind of person who collected friends like charms on a bracelet. I was quieter, a graphic designer who found more comfort in the neat alignment of pixels than in crowded bars. We were a study in contrasts, and for a while, it worked. The problems began so subtly that I didn't even recognize them as problems. It started with my keys. They weren't on the hook by the door where I left them every single day. I found them after a frantic 20-minute search that made me late for a client meeting inside the freezer. Maya found my panic hilarious. "Oh, Chloe, you're such a space cadet sometimes," she laughed, patting my arm. "You must have been exhausted last night." I was tired, so I laughed it off too. A brain fart. It happens. But then it kept happening. My favorite ceramic mug, a gift from my sister, would vanish from the drying rack and reappear days later at the back of the pantry. The television remote would be in the bathroom. A bill I was certain I'd left on the kitchen counter would be gone, leading to a late fee. Each time, Maya would offer a theory delivered with a patronizing little smile. "Are you sure you left it there? You've been working so hard, you're probably just forgetting things." She was so sympathetic, so concerned. Her gaslighting was an art form, painted in soft pastels of feigned worry and gentle condescension. She wasn't accusing me. She was helping me see my own supposed incompetence. The real campaign began when she started editing our conversations. "Hey, did you remember to transfer me your half of the internet bill?" I'd ask. She'd look at me, her brow furrowed in confusion. "What are you talking about? I told you last week I'd cover this month if you bought the groceries." I had no memory of this conversation. I knew, with the kind of certainty that sits deep in your bones, that it had never happened. But she was so convincing, so absolute in her version of reality, that my own certainty would begin to fray. Doubt is a weed. Once it takes root, it's nearly impossible to eradicate. I started keeping a little notebook, jotting down things she'd said, agreements we'd made. It felt insane. Who does that? But it was the only way to feel like I was tethered to reality. It escalated. She began to subtly poison my relationships outside the apartment. I'd make plans with a mutual friend, Sarah, only for Sarah to cancel. Later, I'd find out Maya had told her, "Chloe's been so overwhelmed and flaky lately. Maybe give her some space." I'm a bit worried about her. She was framing my growing anxiety, the very anxiety she was causing, as evidence of my instability. I was being cast as the unreliable, overwrought, fragile roommate, while she played the role of the patient, supportive saint. People believed her. She was Maya, the bubbly life of the party Maya. I was Chloe, the quiet girl who was probably just stressed out from her freelance work. The breaking point wasn't a single grand explosion, but a quiet, devastating act of sabotage. I had been working for 2 weeks on a major branding proposal for a new client. It was the biggest project of my career, the kind of thing that could finally let me quit the side hustles and breathe. I saved the final version to my desktop, planning to do one last review in the morning before sending it. When I woke up, the file was gone. Not in the trash, not in a different folder. It had vanished. I searched for hours, my stomach churning with a nausea so profound I thought I would be sick. Maya came into my room, holding a cup of coffee. "Oh my God, what's wrong?" she asked, her eyes wide with that familiar, hollow concern. When I told her, she put her arm around me. "Chloe, are you positive you saved it? Maybe you just dreamt you finished it. You were so tired last night, I heard you tossing and turning." Her words hit me like a slap. The condescension, the immediate dismissal of my reality, the insinuation that I was so incompetent I couldn't distinguish a dream from 2 weeks of painstaking work. In that moment, the fog of doubt that she had so carefully cultivated finally burned away, replaced by a cold, diamond-hard clarity. She had done this. I didn't know how, but I knew it was her. My grief for the lost file was instantly eclipsed by a rage so pure and focused it felt like a physical object in my chest. I had to rebuild the entire project from scratch in 48 hours, running on caffeine and fury. I got it done, but something in me had changed. The part of me that gave people the benefit of the doubt was gone. In its place was a quiet, patient predator. I did not confront her. Instead, I went online and ordered a tiny motion-activated nanny cam, no bigger than a USB stick. I told her I was going to visit my parents for the weekend. A complete lie. I set up the camera on my bookshelf, its tiny lens perfectly aimed at my desk and my bedroom door. Then I left, checked into a cheap motel across town, and waited. I watched the live feed on my phone for hours. The first day, nothing. She had a friend over, they drank wine. I listened to her tell her friend how worried she was about my burnout. The second day, it happened. I watched, my heart hammering against my ribs, as Maya entered my room. She didn't snoop, she was on a mission. She walked to my desk, sat in my chair, and woke up my computer. She opened my web browser and with a few clicks, changed my default password settings. Then she went to my alarm clock and set it back by an hour. It was all so calm, so deliberate. A little smile played on her lips. It was the smile of someone who enjoyed her power. I saved the footage. I had my proof. The war had begun. My revenge was not going to be a loud, angry confrontation. That's what she would expect, what she could use against me. My revenge was going to be a mirror of her own tactics. It was going to be quiet, insidious, and designed to make her question her own sanity. I would make her life a living nightmare, one excruciating, plausibly deniable detail at a time. I started small, with her prized collection of scented candles. She had one for every mood. I bought a cheap, unscented candle that looked identical to her favorite, sandalwood and vanilla. I carefully scraped out the scented wax from her candle and replaced it with the unscented wax. The next evening, she lit it. Ugh, do you smell that? It's like burnt plastic. I think this candle went bad. I sniffed the air dramatically. I don't smell anything, Maya. It smells like sandalwood, just like always. Is your nose okay? She looked confused, then irritated. It was the first tiny crack in her composure. Next, I turned to her digital life. I didn't do anything destructive, just annoying. I waited until she was in the shower and logged into her Netflix account. I changed the language profile on her favorite show to Norwegian. When she sat down to watch it, she was utterly baffled. The next day, I changed it back. I would connect to her Bluetooth speaker in the middle of the night and play a single, soft note from a piano, just one, then disconnect. She mentioned it once. I swear I heard music last night. I just shrugged, probably dreaming. I began to move her things. Not her keys or wallet. That was my trauma. I was more creative. I took a single earring from 3 of her favorite pairs. I unscrewed the light bulb in her bedside lamp just enough for the connection to break. When she'd complain it was burnt out, I'd wait for her to leave and screw it back in. I just checked it, Maya. It works fine, I'd say, my voice dripping with the same faux concern she had perfected. Maybe you just didn't turn the switch all the way. The masterpiece was the milk. She drank a specific brand of organic almond milk. I started buying the exact same brand. Every day I would wait for her to leave, pour about 1/3 of her milk down the drain, and replace it with my own carton so the container in the fridge was always full. After a week, she was frantic. I swear I'm going insane, she said, holding the milk carton. I just bought this yesterday and it's almost empty. Are you drinking it? I looked at her, my eyes wide with innocence. No, I hate almond milk. Are you sure you're not just drinking more of it? You've been making a lot of smoothies. She was losing her grip. She was the one checking expiration dates, sniffing cartons, questioning her own consumption. The final phase of my campaign was psychological. I knew she had an irrational fear of ladybugs, a story she'd told me during one of our early bonding nights. I bought a packet of hyper-realistic plastic ladybugs online. I placed one on her pillow, one in her toothbrush holder, one on the rim of her coffee mug. She didn't scream, she just became quieter, her eyes constantly scanning the room. The bubbly, confident Maya was gone, replaced by a haunted, paranoid version of herself. I took to leaving anonymous, typed notes. Not threatening, just unsettling. I'd slip one under her door. It would say something like, I know you swapped the coffee filters. A specific, true, but trivial detail that would send her spiraling, wondering who was watching her. The final note simply said, the camera on the bookshelf sees everything. That was the one that broke her. I came home to find her in my room, frantically scanning my bookshelf, her face pale and sweaty. She saw me and recoiled. You, she whispered, her voice trembling. It's been you this whole time. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just looked at her, my expression a perfect blank. What are you talking about, Maya? I asked, my voice soft. I think you're just stressed. You've been seeming really forgetful lately. Are you feeling okay? The look on her face was a portrait of shattered reality. She was seeing her own reflection in my eyes, hearing her own manipulative words thrown back at her. She had built a prison of doubt for me, and had ended up trapping herself inside it. She was gone within a week. She didn't say goodbye. She just packed her things while I was at a client's office and disappeared. She left behind her half of the rent, all of her candles, and the faint, lingering scent of paranoia. The apartment was quiet for the first time in months. The silence was absolute, a perfect, undisturbed peace. I sat in the living room, watching the dust motes dance in the afternoon light. I didn't feel happy or triumphant. I just felt still. I had journeyed into a nightmare of someone else's creation, and had found my way out by becoming a nightmare myself. I had learned a terrible lesson about the fragility of truth, but I had also learned the resilience of my own mind. I would never doubt myself again.